Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Tess Ryan and this channel is devoted to talking about things of encouragement. Today's topic I have named Repress, Address and Express. This is mainly due to the fact that in these times of hardship, often people are struggling through the life with things that have happened in their past, and it's quite evident that in the past of old days they never used to talk about things that happened. It was quite common for things just to be, as they used to say, the expression was, put in your skeletons in the cupboard. And this actually caused quite a bit of harm to a lot of people, and a lot of people, they aren't aware of the ramifications of repressing feelings. When we repress feelings, or we're shoving down feelings, you can liken it to a kettle that's put on the boil with no way of steam escaping from it. Therefore, the kettle will boil away, and eventually, because it can't get any relief from the steam, it will explode. We can also liken it to a volcano which is stewing and stewing with the lava and the fire within it, with no means of escape. But when it does eventually explode, it goes off with a big bang and there is a lot of destruction from it. Well, this is similar to our emotions. And the thing is, with emotions, people don't realise how much emotions affect your physical and mental state. With emotions, if you repress them and you're stewing on them, what it does is it creates stress, which creates anxiety. Once anxiety comes, it can create depression, which is a mental condition, but also stress can also cause stomach issues. It can cause all sorts of diseases as well. So it is so important to not repress feelings. I had a bit of an example of this recently. I went along and visited my mother. She's in respite at the moment. She has an injured foot, so she's having a bit of a rest up in respite. And I went along and showed her my book. I recently wrote a book, I Survived Domestic Violence. That's it. If anybody was interested in buying it, you can go to my Facebook page. It's called Terry Ryan Author, Terry with an I. Anyway, I did show her the book and she read the blog at the back, and her actual reply was, don't show this to your son because it might upset him. And this struck me as, you know, this was quite an attitude back in those days where they did hide things in the cupboard rather than address issues or express feelings. They just hid everything in the cupboard and they just suffered. They just suffered the consequences, hid everything just to keep respectability and just to keep up appearances. This is what they did in the old days. And the thing is, what they have realised is that keeping things repressed does create lots of havoc in your own body. And as I said before, it can cause depression, it can cause anxiety, it can cause all form of disease by repressing your feelings. So the way to address these feelings is to get it out in the open, or think and look at the things that are upsetting you. Things from the past, could be things present, or things that you're upset about or you're anxious about right now for the future. I remember this saying too, like anxiety and worry and stress is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it gets you nowhere. That's one saying. And it is true, if you're anxious about anything for the future, you shouldn't be, because you don't know the future. You don't know what is going to happen. The very thing that you fear, usually the worst part of that is the actual fear itself, what you're going through. And normally things generally pan out. So if you can get to the place where you can address what the actual problem is, and sometimes you might not even be aware that you are anxious about any particular thing, but your subconscious never forgets. Your subconscious stores everything, and even when you're asleep, it's quite often why you'll have recurring dreams and dreams about things. I know when I was going through domestic violence, I suffered post-traumatic stress. That was all brought on by past hurts in my childhood and in going through the domestic violence. And it all came out with post-traumatic stress. I suffered anxiety and depression. I even went through a bit of eating disorder at the time. In part of the time of my life, it was one way of trying to control things, but the actual problems that lay there were what happened in the past and me not addressing them. I didn't go and seek counselling. I didn't do anything to try and get counselled. And the thing was, I just repressed it. I just thought, if I don't think about it, it's going to go away. But the actual thing is, your subconscious does not let go of any past hurts. It will come back one day and bite you. So being able to address issues and express issues is one way of coping with releasing it. You're actually giving that boiling kettle a bit of an opening so that the steam can come out, so that you can get rid of it. And ways to do this, there are several ways you can do it. You can do it by actually going and dealing with the actual problem. Of course, at times you might not be able to deal with the problem. It might be somebody of your past that you no longer know where they are, or they may have passed away, or you may be in a different place where you couldn't possibly address it. But there are other ways of addressing and expressing issues. You can, I found when I was going through after my domestic violence and going through a lot of stalking that I did, one way of taking my mind off things was actually writing some songs. So I wrote songs, and doing this, that sort of raised my vibe so that I was able to cope, and it also released the pressure at that time. Another thing I did later on was I used to write poetry, and I actually wrote poetry about the problems that I was going through. And by putting it down on the paper, it tended to release it from my body, and I was able to put it on the paper and then put it out in the world. And this was quite a release for me. There came a lot of tears, there came a lot of emotions and raw feelings from doing it, because once again, bringing it up, you're living through it, but you're actually bringing it up and releasing it, and that's exactly what you're doing by expressing these problems. So I did that, and then I wrote the book, as I said, with I Survived, and it did actually give me quite a release by expressing these things. And I came to a realisation that if you don't express these things and you repress them, this is doing more harm to you than anything else by expressing and dealing with those feelings. So if you can deal with those feelings and express it and release it, this is where you're going to get some peace of mind. And it certainly helped that way for me. I ended up getting peace of mind, and in the process was able to write a book to possibly help others going through the same situation. So I thought that was quite an important thing to do, to try and help people to express their feelings and to address situations that are hurting them and that are causing them depression, anxiety and health issues because of their pent-up emotions. So hopefully that may have helped somebody, and I'll be seeing you very soon. Bye.